Literature has long served as the foundation for cinema, inspiring some of the most visually and emotionally compelling works. However, adapting literature into film requires a profound understanding of both the languages and a high level of craftsmanship. This session, titled Transforming Literary Masterpieces into Engaging Films, will explore the nuanced art of translating the poetry of words into the powerful visuality of images, guided by a master filmmaker who has dedicated his life to crafting unforgettable cinematic experiences. To conduct this session, please join us in welcoming with a warm round of applause the National Award-winning director, screenwriter, producer and actor, Mr. Gautam Vasudev Menon. And now, the man whose name is synonymous to cinematic brilliance, the legend of Indian cinema, Mr. Ratnam. May I now request Srimati Brinda Manohar Desai Ma'am, Joint Secretary Films, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India, to please join us on stage to felicitate our celebrated speakers. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us with the felicitation. And now over to Mr. Gautam Vasudev Menon with the gracious request to commence the conversation.
Good evening, sir. There's this beautiful thought about poetry in the film Dead Poets Society, directed by Peter Weir and starring Robin Williams, which is the most favorite film of mine, after a film called Nayagan, which this man sitting next to me now. And is the reason why I'm sitting here today on his left. The thought about poetry in Dead Poets Society is a quote, of course, but I'm going to say it here and I'm going to replace the word poetry with films because it will make sense and will resonate across why and where we are today. This is how it goes. We don't make films. We don't watch films because it's cute. We make and watch films because we are members of the human race, and the human race is filled with passion. Engineering, medicine, business, law, these are noble pursuits and very necessary to sustain life. But films, love, romance, this is what we stay alive for. Films are what we stay alive for. And I felt that every time going into a Mani Ratnam film. Knowing Mani sir and a sense of humor, I'm sure he'd ask me, how do you feel coming out of the film? But that's the thing, sir, I've never come out of a Mani Ratnam film till the next one releases. Till the next one releases, and this is not sycophancy, this is not flattery. I'm not looking to get anything from Mani sir other than some more knowledge about filmmaking and to feel alive walking into a film. But that brings me to my first question, sir. I know films is what keeps us alive. I know you felt that in your prolific career so far, but my question is, do you still feel the same?
I feel like a beginner. an absolute beginner. Doesn't change. When I did my first film, I thought one film I'll learn everything and then I'll be a master. It's never there at all. It's still a first film every time. And you go into a shoot not knowing how to shoot, but wanting to do something and searching for it.
So you always said making films is about sharing for you. It's not about delivering a message or suggesting a change. What makes something share-worthy for you?
And I think I think it could be anything, it's like sharing something that bothers you, sharing something that brings joy to you, sharing something that you think is truth, is there in everybody, and if there's some form in which that can come out, then it's sharing or it's reflection, it is. You are able to identify with something and that is what you want to put on the screen.
And when there are so many literary masterpieces out there, why do some stories speak more to you than the others?
Well, the other literary masterpieces have not yet been made into films. If they are made, I'm sure that they will be, if that could be, even remarkable ones.
So is it all guts or is it passion? So you decide to make Ponniyin Selvan, read and loved by millions of readers who thronged the theatres to watch the film, and a whole sort of new audience that went to see what the fuss was all about. Was there ever any fear that this would turn out to be a damn squib? That, it's almost historical, characters from the past might not live up to the scale of certain other films that are in the same genre. Was there ever any fear, or did you just let that go by the wayside and just jump into it?
No, I trusted Kalki. He's the author, and it's been a classic. It's been the best-selling book from 1950, and it's something that I read when I was finishing school, and it's been it has everything that is calling to be made into a film. It has the scale, it has the intrigue, it has a period, it has horses, it has adventure, it has characters which are brilliant. So it is always there, asking to be made into a film. Only I didn't know whether I could, but I realized that I wanted to, and that is all. So it is not, no, I was not afraid. I was afraid of how I would be able to do it, but the only way you can go is, with a film like that, with a story like that, every person who's read it, and there's millions of people who've read it in Tamil, and they all are absolute experts in it. Each one have their own vision of how each character should be, and so I was battling with not just a book, 5-volume book, but also the perception of so many readers who are passionate about it. But the only guiding factor that I had was that I was also one of the passionate readers, and I will go with what I felt that can be put on screen.
So when you read Ponniyin Selvan for the first time, and then the many versions later, the abridged versions, the translated versions, when you heard somebody narrating the story, did the visual imagery sort of come alive? So did the shots speak to you? I'm also asking this because I've read that Charles Dickens, who died 25 years before motion pictures were invented, is credited with inventing the parallel montage, the intercutting between two stories in his writing, and is also said to be the inspiration behind the track in and zoom in technique of filming through his writings. So did the writing sort of speak to you? Did the material sort of inspire you? Did the visual imagery come up then itself, or was it a process that evolved?
No, I think the visual imagery must have come across to everyone who's read the book. He's such a visual writer, and he's got a fantastic way of telling a story. It's almost intimate. It's a huge thing, but it looks like as though he's talking only to you. And his description of that period is quite elaborate, quite amazing. And only when I started doing research for the film, I realized that there's so much of accuracy in what he has done at that point of time, where the research was not as much as it is now, research material. So I think he's very graphic in his imagination, in his description. There's some pieces which are still, which I could not capture at all. I mean, they're still vivid in my mind from what I've read and always wanted to see, but it couldn't be fitted in. So he was the master.
So since you said that, I know you've left some chunks out from the story when you made the film. Revisiting the film or looking at the final cut, or even now as we're speaking about it, are there any moments that you felt you could have retained in the film from the story?
No, that's the thing with from literature to film. You know, there are so many pieces in the book which are brilliant. You know, I mean, each chapter is brilliant. Can be made into an individual. You know, if you're doing a long format thing, it can be done tremendously. And some of them are visually brilliant. You know, so but when you look at a film and you look at, you know, trying to bring the essence of it within a certain amount of time, you know, within one unit, I think film is seen as one flow, whereas books can be read over several periods of time. So it was important to make sure that we bring, you know, it together cogently. You know, that was more important, and not just go only for the peaks of visual beauty.
Early readings, so what are the kind of books that you used to read? I'm thinking that must have influenced you, right? And I'm talking about your younger days, what kind of books you started reading? You, looking at Alepai then, OK Kanmani, you must be a Gen Z kid, so around that time, what did you read?
I think like every school kid goes through, you go through phases where you start off very early with Biggles and, you know, then move on further, and at some point of time, Ayn Rand comes into you, and then you go past it, and then this Noor comes into you, you know, I mean, so Raymond Chandler's and Philip Marlowe's come, and then you come across Graham Greene, and you come across Lekar, you know, I mean, so it is an ongoing process till today, you know, I mean, right now I'm trying to read a Salman Rushdie book, which is called Victory City. You know, it is based on Vijayanagaram, you know, the early days and things like that. It's absolutely, it's stunning. It's like watching a film, the way he writes it, you know. I mean, the mixture between fiction and fact and history is so brilliant, so amazing. So, I mean, you are influenced by everything that you've read. You know, your ability to think, to imagine has been by what you've heard as stories and what you've read as stories, and then what you see around you.
Is that a sneak peek into your next film, sir?
I wish I was that prolific.
Is there any literature from the Western world that you think will make a great Indian film? And I think it's okay to put the idea out here because nobody's going to make it as good as you. So,
I think in West they've done quite an amazing transition from literature to films. You know, quite amazing. I mean, they have a huge record, and I think here we have not had that many. Though, I mean, Ray has done. You know, R.K. Narayan's book has been done. So there are a lot more possibilities that are here. But it is ability to adapt and to make it relevant to, you know, the people who are going to watch with you. You know, that's what matters. It's not whether it is from the West or from here, but, you know, to be able to, you know, find another language in film for the same material. You know, that is what you search for. There are a lot of things, like I was telling you, this Victory City is fantastic, but I don't know how it can ever be made into a film, but it looks like a film. So I mean, quite a few books are like that, and sometimes you wonder, when I first read One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, it's a novel written in first person, you know, and when you realize that that is being made into a film, I could never imagine how it could be made into a film. And then I read the play version of it, stage play version of it. And then you watch the film, you realize that the brilliance of adaptation, you know, is finding a completely different language into it. You know, not being only stuck with, if if the movie had stuck to the first person narrative of that Indian, then it wouldn't have been the same. I mean, they completely reinvented it. And so it's a fascinating thing to see how the rest of them are doing it, But I've done it only once, and I've had a lot of trouble trying to convert one big piece into a film. So it's an art that we have to learn a lot more.
Since we're talking about translating literary masterpiece into engaging cinema, how do you decide that this is engaging enough, especially with Punniyin? The length, of course, I know you fixed it as 2 parts and you shoot a certain way and all that, but how do you decide? And finally, are you happy with how engaging it was with the audience?
As a film, no. The decision is simple. If it is engaging for you as a reader, and if you think you can convert it into a film, if you think that it is possible to find another language for it, then you get into it. And the moment you choose something, it is only after you know that it is engaging for you. And you are the best judge of what works for you. And the belief is that if it works for you, it should reach quite a few people at least. So you go with that. You can't all the time. I feel that you can't all the time wonder whether this will be liked by so-and-so, this will be liked by the people. I think you have to trust your instinct, basically I'm a film watcher. I'm a cinegoer, I've been all that. So I'm still that. I'm still one of the persons sitting in the audience. And I try to, see what I like and try to see whether I can get there.
I know he said he feels like a beginner, but a whole generation of filmmakers will agree with me that this year is the master, and I'm so happy to be in conversation with him. Is there any character from literature that you feel is close to who you are?
No one can come anywhere near me. Sorry about that. I meant that no one can be as confused, as not sure, as everything.
And I know I asked you, films are what we stay alive for, and I think you kind of walked over the question because Suhasini ma'am is in the crowd.
Absolutely.
So, who killed Aditya Karikalan, sir?
Do you know?
No, also the question is also because you chose to film it a certain way. There are so many people in that room, assuming all of us have watched Punniyin Selvan, there are so many people in the room. And I think the book or the story also has that. It's a little bit of a, nobody knows, right? You chose to play it that way. Weren't you tempted to call it your own? I mean, most of your films have been that, right? You had an interpretation of Ravana in Ravanan. You had Karna and Arjuna in Talapati, which I want to talk to you about also. Weren't you tempted to say, I'm sorry, but Nandini killed Aditya Karikalan?
No, I think in history it is a mystery. So there's no point in trying to reinvent history. They still don't know who killed Aditya Karikalan. There's no document which says this is what happened.
Sorry to interrupt you. These characters are, there's also talk that they're fictional characters, right? These 3.
Not really. Aditya Karikalan was not fictional.
Okay.
He was real. He was murdered, and they still haven't got. There's few of them who have been accused, who have been driven out of land, and then their interpretations with that. So that Kalki maintained that mystery. He did not. In fact, he maintained it really, covered it up completely. You can only guess. Whereas on film, sometimes you have to, film is something which is very immediate. Unlike a book, which lets you imagine and find your own ways of looking at it. In film, it's there right in front of you, on the screen. It's a 2-dimension, which pretends to be 3-dimension. And you have to be there. And the only way we looked at it was that the character that was fictional in the entire novel, amongst several others, was Nandini. She was the main character, who was completely fictional. And therefore, you led towards the two of them and brought in their the assassination that happened. It could have been her, it could have been the Pandya's conspirators, it could have been that. That's how the book goes, and that's how I think I could go to say 100% that Nandini killed him. Then I'm asking why, and then you have to answer, and then why did he let him kill her? I mean, all those have to be answered, which will take quite a bit of drama to be played across. So I didn't want to reinvent it, and felt that if you brought the drama up to that, to make that believable, make their relationship, make the conflicts, reach a high point, and then you just move forward.
So engaging cinema also means the actors have to be right. I heard that Vijay could have been one of the actors in the film earlier when your first draft of Pauline was being made. And then I don't know what your idea of the actors were, but did it actually make a difference, or to engage cinema like that, or it didn't really make a difference?
No, it does. I think cinema is such a, though it sounds like a cliche, it's such a collective medium. If you're going to change one element in the making, there will be definite shades of difference. Huge change. If you can't imagine Nayakan without Kamala Hassan. It makes that much of a difference. The story could have been the same, but the way it comes out is the same. Similarly, possibly, I can't imagine him without PC Sriram there. So every person brings some value, and as a director, your job is to get each one of them to invest something into your film, and it makes all the difference. The actors bring life into your paper. What is on paper is just inanimate, and they make it believable. They make the characters breathe, and that you go beyond the story and look at the person.
That's so true. The only reason why some of us haven't picked up Nayagan to remake it or make it again is because we can't think of anybody else in Kamal Sir's shoes. A lot of these films are being made now, Day of the Jackal, and it works. But I've been toying with the idea for quite some time, but I can't even think of anybody filling Kamal Sir's shoes. But the visual imagery itself, so I want to talk to you about that. How do you decide that this is the way? I know there are some sort of graphical images from the novel and from when it came into one of the publications later and all that, but how do you decide that this is how Nandini will look, and this is the mood of the palace, and this is where I'm going to shoot this particular scene? Is there a lot of thought that goes into it, or it just comes out?
I wish it comes out like that. I've been dreaming. No, I think in this particular case, the illustrator, Maniam, had very definite, clarity on how the character looked. People have, whoever has read it, in their mind it's etched how Nandini is. She is with a certain kind of a hairstyle, and that had to be there to define her as Nandini. And so what we do is, when the first time we see Nandini, we'll make sure that it is close to that image. But after that, you can, go with the way the scene is. Only thing that we had wanted to do was to make it look like it happened. It really happened. That there is, that it is not a set. It is not just something which is shot in a studio, and not something which is shot inside a floor and things like that. But it should breathe. There should be sunlight. There should be dirt. There should be sweat. You should feel that you are there, or we are at that point of time. So we just wanted to make all the background, all the surroundings as real as possible, and not look false, not look like it is being constructed. And so that gave us the definition. And I think a lot of influence by Kurosawa, maybe, a period genre which we've seen, which has been done to perfection. So, and we always felt that if you do, it should be somewhere around that style. So we tried to make it as real as possible. We went to real locations. We knew that, the film is set in the Chola period in Tanjore. And if you go to Tanjore today, you're not going to get any of those. You're not going to get there's no forts, there's no palace, nothing left. So we have to invent it. And I didn't want to go into the erection of sets of that scale and, to make it look false. So we took the liberty of shooting it in a palace, in a fort, which was outside, which was north. And we had to digitally convert the architecture to make it a little more South Indian, like it was in this one. But we took the liberty to, shoot in real locations, though there were some, non-factual things. The fort in Tanjore Fort was not on a hillock in Tanjore, whereas when we shot it at Gwalior, it was at a higher. We tried our best to bring it down, but it won't come down too much digitally. So that was the risk, or that was the decision that we made. We will take this chance of going factually wrong, but make it a little more real, if that makes any sense.
And then, to make it engaging cinema, there's music. I mean, you could have completely gone with a different soundtrack for the film. And I'm sure you didn't just leave it to A.R. Rahman and say, give me some music. Again, there must have been a lot of discussion knowing how you work. Talk to us about it. So how do you pick that these are the tunes that we will hear? This is the composition. It can be a little more contemporary, it can be folk. How do you take that call? Because it could have been completely bereft of any instrumentation or something new and contemporary. But there was a fine balance, I think, which had to reach out to the audience today and sort of strike the balance, like I said. How do you take that call, sir?
Yeah, the decision was not just to reach out to the audience today. And it was not just with music, it was on most of the, technical aspects, the way it's shot, the way it is being designed, and the music especially. That though it is period, we will treat it as contemporary as possible. As real, including the language that was used in those novels. None of us really know what was the language fully in terms of how in Chola period they spoke. We only have poetries left of them. But there has been interpretation over the last 70, 80 years of period films that are done, which have treated the language in a particular fashion. And that fashion can get theatrical, and it makes performance a little fake. If you go into this flowery, elaborate language. So we had to make it has to ring true to the period, but still be something which you can perform real and it can connect very easily. So that balance was starting from the dialogue writing. That balance is what we were trying to do, in terms of the language, in terms of music, in terms of everything. So we wanted to evoke a period and not literally recreate the period. We want to evoke that sense of the classical period.
That just makes me want to know what kind of music you listen to in your growing years. So what's on your playlist now?
These days I'm growing old. What's on my playlist now? Most of it's on soundtracks, I think, these days. But when you grow up, with M.S. Vishwanathan and Ilayaraja, basically. You can't. There's no way that you don't grow up with that. Even today, that's what evokes you. But then you get into all the Western, you get exposed to, Beatles, and then you get exposed to hard rock, and, so it keeps growing. And these days, we hear music with these kids in the office, all the assistant directors listen, that becomes our playlist.
Writer and filmmaker. Writing is a very lonely process. Filmmaking is completely the opposite. How do they complement each other? Do you think it's a healthy trend for the writer and writer to be the same person, like it is, sometimes or mostly? Or do you think one should just wear one hat that you think you're better at?
The trouble comes because I'm not too sure which hat suits me better. I think the fantastic solution is to take literature and make into films. You have a writer who is a master, and if you're able to reinvent it, it's fantastic. But and in Tamil, really, really rich in terms of literature. But it's not so easy. I mean, I've been wanting to do a lot of authors in Tamil that are there, which I've been fascinated by. I think somebody like Ashok Mitran and Sundar Ramaswamy. It's very difficult. I mean, they're as pieces of literature, it's just fantastic. It still needs to be, brought into a film language. So, ideally, that's what. Ideally, you'd like some writing that is far above what you do available to you. Then it makes your job as a director easy. But when you don't have that, then you tend to take up that also, so that your whatever you want to do in film, is sourced there. So if you can find something better, something much more richer, it will make your films even better.
Which makes me want to ask you, is the writing not good enough these days? Because in the 70s and 80s, a lot of Tamil films looked to short stories, and they were adapted from short stories. Mullu Malaram was one such film, and many other stories at that time. Sirai was, a story. Why don't filmmakers adapt these days? Why aren't they going to...
Gautam, why aren't you doing it?
I did, sir. I worked with... I knew you throw that back on me. I worked with Jaimon sir on a recent film.
Yeah.
And you told me, you gave me a few pointers as to how to go about that. But that makes me think why...
I think it's not so easy. It's not... because I think in that form, as literature, especially when it's reached a certain standard, you should be able to find a way to adapt it to ring true to this, that has reached a certain amount of certain degree of class. So you have to find a way in which you can present it here. And not all of them, I feel, at least for my ability, are easy to translate. But I'm sure, there will be future filmmakers who will come and get it done. I think the closer the gap between literature and cinema, I think the better Indian cinema will be.
So going back a bit, so you wake up one day, there's an opportunity to work with Rajinikanth, and you decide, okay, he'll play Karna, or was it something you were always inspired by, Kunti, Arjuna, Karna, and these characters sort of were in you, and then you decided, okay, this will work for this film?
Yeah, I've always been fascinated with Karna. I think as a characterization, as a character, it's so much has been thrown at him, all his life, and for him to shine and stand tall and have a tragic end which has no solution is just, that's what's great about some of our epics. It throws so many fascinating characters, and that there's so many that can be made out of them. So when I thought of it, then that this is possible. That is after that only I met Mr. Rajinikanth and spoke to him. We've been speaking before, but I didn't have anything that I could offer him. It's only when I thought of this as a possibility that we reached out to him.
And Ravan again, so much later in Ravan.
Yeah, I think it's in sound there is a strong, I grew in, my schooling was and my hostel was in Kalakshetra, where arts and dance, music were very, and when we grew, from the hostel, every Friday we had to attend the dance program at the Kalakshetra. They couldn't get audience, so they'll pull all students in. And there was always Kathakali, which I could never figure out. But all of them dealt with, the characters which were portrayed as villain normally. They would take that up and look at it from his point of view, whether it is Ravana or, any of those. So it is a very fascinating interpretation that has always been there in art form, in South Indian art form. So it is, that is all. It's just Ravan was just an extension of that, to see it from a different perspective.
Speaking about which, does Vikram like you, sir? Because I know in Ravan there's a scene where, he's on this makeshift boat. It's called a cutter thing, where he's going round and round and he's delivering this monologue. And in Ponniyin Selvan, he's on a horse, and the horse is moving constantly, and there's a monologue and stuff. I just suddenly, through this comparison, does he like you a lot? And does he listen to what you say? Or?
It's good to keep the actors moving all the time. Yeah, I think as a director, you try to make a scene alive. So you're searching for it all the time. So when even Raman, that boat sequence was not there, we didn't plan to shoot it that way till the previous day. It is a conversation. It's a major conversation between the two characters. And it is somewhere where he's opening out and telling her. So it was a very dramatic scene. And to have him just stand in front of her and talk and say this, though we had thought of it being around it, but the next day you have to shoot. As a director, you get worried about it. Till then you are very confident because it was there as a scene, the writing is done. But as a director, you get worried that, that you're not being able to do anything more to it. So I thought of that, of him being with the kids in that parcel. But we didn't have any parcel where we were shooting. So we had to get it from Mysore overnight and then do it. So, that saves you as a filmmaker to keep it alive, to make the actor, deliver it in such a fashion that it is not just the dialogue. It is part of living, part of the entire environment. Which makes it alive, which makes it believable. And similarly for Ponniyin Selvan also, it is originally the location was that, it had an entrance and it has these steps, where he was supposed to be invited. And what was conceived originally was that he would not get on the steps and go, but ride around and go and, show that he had no intention of falling for that. So that is what was planned. But when, as it developed, as the director's job keeps coming closer and closer, you try to see how else you can make it better, And to get this man who was, that scene in the book or in the writing is just amazing piece of writing, where you see this man who's, cannot be held down, he's untamed, he's just wild, he can say anything, he can hurt anybody, he can say really rough things, and you still root for him. So it was a very dramatic scene, and so we needed him to have that wilder quality, and then this was thought about then, to do the picture as him sitting on top of everything while the whole world is standing in front of him, including the woman that he cares for. So it just tells a story, helps in telling the story a bit better. So that is all. It's just my way of escaping.
And the two parts were shot as one film and then edited into two parts. But then once you went into part two, was there anything that you changed or reshot or went in to sort of fix a few things based on how part one worked and all that?
Not at all.
Okay.
We could afford it. No, it's a one film in my opinion. It is just one long film. And we had, times had changed. We were lucky now to be able to tell that story in two films. So, but it didn't make any sense to shoot one part and then reassemble everybody for the same locations and do that. So we shot the entire thing as one stretch. And there was nothing that we could, every actor had gone into different, genres and different get-ups and different characters. So there's no way we were going to bring it back. We knew that even when we were shooting. So there was nothing that was reshot at all once it's over.
I'm going to throw the session open to the audience for a bit before I come back to asking sir a few more questions. Can we do that now? Yeah. I'm so happy to be moderating this where I can pick who asks questions. Yes. Do you have a mic?
Hi, my name is sir. Hi,
Hello.
GVM sir. This question is for both of you. Since we have the same approach, since both of you have the same approach, this is a technical question. Since you mentioned, my name is Jay Bharat. I'm a filmmaker who recently started an AI startup which helps to enrich the production workflow, which cuts 85% of production budget and without compromising any vision. So my question is
85% is production budget.
Yes.
I should learn from you, man.
Sir,
you should take the Masterclass. I'll sit there.
Sir, I'm here to tell you this, that it is possible to cut the production cost to 85%.
I'll come privately and take lessons from you.
Sir, we share the same vision to take Indian culture movies into international standards. You always mention that Indian stories with international standards was your vision. So we share the same vision, sir. I'm here to tell you this, that it is possible with this technique. And also, a question is like, you mentioned Tanjore set was a challenging because there was nothing happened, and when we go to VFX, it comes out false. Why you feel that it comes out false? And GVM sir also mentioned that there's a budget constraints or the time constraints which restrict you to go to VFX. And you also inspired from Bahubali for making two parts, Ponniyin Selvan, but you went to a real sets and real approach. Why is that? You don't believe in CG, or is it a budget or time constraint? Okay. And if that cuts to 85% budget and without compromising any vision, and it helps you to focus on the storytelling rather than management, will you pick that? Will you pick that? And that's a question.
Question is over.
Yeah. Sir, that's a question.
No, it's each individual's prerogative how they want to shoot a film. You know, what you think is real and what you believe in is what you can try and project. And for me, I thought that shooting it in real places is the way to shoot this film. That there should be, dust and dirt, and there should be sweat on people. There should be, it should breathe. You should feel that. So it was necessary for us to shoot in real location. You can do it in VFX, some people do it, and if you are happy with it, good luck to you. But I still feel, where you cannot do it in real time, that is when VFX helps you, not the other way around.
Yeah, that's it. So when you film, do factors like time, sunset, and things like that affect the way you film, or you plod on until you get what you want right? So do you fix in your mind that this has to be done over the next 2 days? Or do you go to a third day because you still haven't got it right? This might help a lot of us, actually.
No, I think over time I've realized that you have to be efficient in filmmaking. There is no end. I can go on and on and on trying to search for something, and a lot of times I have something in my mind and I work with an actor, I tell him this, and sometimes the actor in the take does something completely different, but that works for me. It is, so you pick that, you go ahead with it and go ahead with that. So it's not that you have something fixed completely in your mind, that's what you're trying. For me, I'm searching. I have an idea, I have a kind of an image, but if what I'm searching for is to improve on that. That is easy because I could sit in my office room and think of that. When you have your camera, you have your fantastic technicians and actors in front of you, you should be able to climb above that. So you do the search, but that search should be within reasonable time, you should be aware that you have to produce a film in reasonable budget, in reasonable time. So it is important to, do your best with within restrictions. And sometimes I think the restrictions bring the best in you. You know, I mean, if you have deadline, the sun is going down, and you have to shoot. Sometimes that brings out the best in each one of us. You know, I mean, the primary example for that is probably Rahman. You know, I mean, if we have to deliver the song tomorrow, he would work like a maniac the day before. So it's that. I mean, I think it's important, you know, to be aware of both schedule, budget, and not let go of your, you know, idea if you know, search for a good quality.
This is a school of filmmaking that I always wanted to be a part of. It's a very organic way of filming. You work with the actors. There is a writing in place, but you don't stick to that because the actor sort of, you know, brings his own, and there's so much of respect for actors. You know, where Manisha comes from, and this should reach out to a lot of young filmmakers here. That this is a school of filmmaking that, you know, one should sort of imbibe. I've tried to be part of this filmmaking school, but sir never takes me in as assistant. He keeps saying I'm busy and all that, so I just thought I'd throw a person aside. Yes.
Gautam sir, I don't have mic. I would like to talk.
Yeah, 1 second. I just point the next one will be used. 1 second. Yeah. I'll give you a mic. Yeah. Yes.
मैं सुरेश शर्मा बोल रहा हूँ। जो लिटरेचर में, जब लिटरेचर को आप फिल्म में ट्रांसफर करते हैं, तो कहाँ तक डायरेक्टर को छूट लेनी चाहिए कहानी में? क्योंकि तीसरी कसम फिल्म 66 में बनी थी, तो उसके एक गाड़ीवान हीरामन और नौटंकी की हीराबाई की कहानी है। उसमें कहानी में है कि दोनों अंत में नहीं मिलते हैं, अलग हो जाते हैं, लेकिन राज कपूर कहते थे कि चूंकि दर्शक चाहते हैं कि वो मिलना चाहिए उनको, तो उनको मिला देना चाहिए। एक तो ये, दूसरे देवदास, 18 देवदास पिछले 70 साल में देवदास का निर्माण हुआ है, उसमें सबका अंत डिफरेंट है। यहाँ तक कि आखिरी देवदास पाकिस्तान में 12 में बना है 2012 में, उसमें देवदास वो पारो घर लास्ट में पारो निकलती है और देवदास की चिता जल रही है, उसमें जाके कूद जाता है।
Khushbu, you want to answer? Khushbu will answer. She understands the question.
This is basically the same question I asked you. Why could you? Yeah, I speak English.
Fantastic.
Why could you have your own interpretation, or should a filmmaker have his own interpretation to a story? Because in Teesri Kasam apparently the ending was different, but Raj Kapoor sort of chose to shoot in his own way. So why can't a filmmaker have his sort of own interpretation?
I think they should. I think definitely there should be something, you know, your way of telling the same story. You know, I mean, you can have. I think, but changing for the sake of changing is something which is, you know, doesn't make sense to me. But when I say that it moves from one medium to another, one language to another language, there will be changes. You know, I mean, you don't get big brownie points for being 100% authentic, or you don't get brownie points for just changing for the sake of changing. So it has to be organic. You have to take it inside you and tell it your own way.
Sir, did you miss it out on Anton Chekhov, Dostoevsky, Turgenev, and Tolstoy? And there are a lot of film directors in the 70 years. They all made film with their lovers, and they're all married to them, many of them. For example, Rajarshi Shantaram, and you had a lovely looking, very talented person. You never used her in your film, any reason, and you didn't use Rajinikanth in Ponniyin Selvan, where he came and asked you to play a role.
Okay, tell me, what has Dostoevsky got to do with any of these?
Wait.
What is the connection?
No, wait. Because you are not read the best literature in the world.
What makes you think I am not?
Because you didn't talk about it.
I don't have to talk about every book I've read.
You are talking about Raymond Chandler.
Yeah, I love him. Yeah, you don't like it, it's your problem. What can I do?
Commercial writer.
And also to each.
Yeah, I'm a commercial filmmaker. Don't worry about it.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have a mic.
Can you please pass the mic to Krishna?
Hi, sir.
I'm here in the audience as one of your biggest fans, and you know that. My question to you would be, if you were on the other side of the fence, among your fans, the millions of fans who are sitting and waiting to hear from you, what is that one question you would like to ask Mani Ratnam, the director?
Why can't you make better films?
Guys, now this is impossible. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Yeah. Do you have a mic? Sudhir will come to this.
Hello, sir. I'm here because of River and Ratnam actually. So, this is my re-meeting two of you, but I'm asking for you. So, Tamil
Can you hold the mic properly?
Tamil கேட்குறேன். எனக்கு வந்து உங்க ரெண்டு பேருக்கு பிடிச்ச ஒரு விஷயம் என்னன்னா emotions between two characters. The love and the anger or anything between Manisa's characters and as well as yours, with Surya as well as the Meghna and, for example, and Poni and Aditya Karikalan and Nandini. You both do some magic with those characters. You don't express it with a lot of dialogues or a lot of moments with camera, but expressions. But when those same actors go to other directors, they are not doing it. So I want to learn that from both of you.
நான் ஒரு பக்கத்தில் உட்காந்துருக்கேன்றதுனால என்ன அவ்வளோ சமமாக பேசாதீங்க தயவு செய்து. இங்கே உட்காரத்துக்கு ரொம்ப ஒர்க் பண்ணியிருக்கேன் நான் 10-20 years ஒர்க் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். சில கொஸ்டின்ஸ் சொல்லலாம் சார்.
Okay, I also wanted to ask a question. Can I? I don't need a mic. I'm loud enough.
He hasn't answered the question.
Yeah, 1 second.
I don't need a mic. I'm loud enough.
10 seconds, ma'am. Surya and Meghna were part of my life, so it was easy to sort of recreate that. But Nandini and Aditya were not part of his life. He didn't see them. So to create something like that must have taken a lot of work. So all respect to you, sir. Yes.
Yes. It feels like I'm competing in a beauty pageant. So anyway, thank you. Fabulous being a part of this conversation. I'm obviously a very big fan, and I just have noticed a trend which is woven amongst all the films that I've watched, which have been directed and produced by you, that you are very strongly, when fleshing out the character arc for your characters in the movie, inspired by Indian mythology. I can literally relate to each character coming out of another mythological character in the history of Indian mythology. So I just want to ask you rather, that and that makes the movie more relatable and definitely more, it adds more gravitas. So I just want to ask you that, is this a trend that everybody should follow even in Bollywood, and how true is what I'm saying? Thank you. My name is Pooja Mishra.
I don't know whether it's a trend that everyone should follow. I think each one will find their own trend. But I think what fascinates me is that, something that's been written and told so many years back, so many centuries back, mythology, is relevant today, that we can relate to it today and we can interpret it in today's day and time in our issues and our problems. That continues to fascinate me. And so if I'm able to find a mirror image here, it pushes you to making that into a film.
Hi sir, my name is Sudhir Srinivasan. You may be a reluctant talker, but it's an absolute pleasure to listen to you, and I hope you do this a lot more often as well. Just to hear you speak about the little nuances of filmmaking while you're engaged in conversation. So thank you, Ratnam. Thank you, sir, for this. My question to you is, after a filmmaker achieves a certain degree of success, it seems to me that a lot of them become prisoners of their own success in a sense. You've reached great heights, you're thought of as a legend, and I wonder how that affects your psyche when you're coming up with new projects, new ideas, new films. Even with the next film that you're about to do with Mr. Kamal Hassan, there's so much conversation about Nayagan, about the classic that the film has been. So it seems to me that people do view these films from the prism of certain other collaborations or films that you've done. I wonder if how you negotiate that, how you keep alive the love for cinema that you must have had originally when you started doing all of this. Thank you very much.
No, I think for me, if I'm honest with myself, then I'll say that with all honesty that every film is like a first film. So it is, I still, when I go there, I don't know how I'm going to do. I don't know whether I'll be able to put it together cogently, so it is a step by step. That brings you down to earth, whatever has happened before, good or bad. Getting into a new project, starting off with a blank paper, just pulls you down to one realistic place where it says that you're still a beginner. You start from there. So none of those really bother except what you're trying to do at present.
So I have a question again. You talked about dust and dirt and grime, and there was this sort of reference from early illustrations and all that. But the actual cinematography of the film, Puri and Sylvan, what sort of work went into figuring out this is the sort of lensing that I will do, and this is the way the camera will move, especially the boat sequence at the end and everything. I know Ravi Varman shot the film, and I know how Ravi works. But what sort of, can I just say, input from your side was there before you guys went into filming and on certain days of filming also?
For me, your DOP becomes your closest person when you're making a film. I try to bring them in as early as possible in my film, and I have an idea, not a script. When I have an idea, I discuss it with the DOP and pull them in from that time. So the journey is a journey together. So, and my job is to get the best out of them and still remain honest to the project. So it's not as though, everything is formed then and there as we shoot, but it is discussed, it is, it's a constant process of, evolving. So we have an idea of this, the style that we do, this is more or less the pattern that we are trying to do. But still be open enough to, to kind of improvise there and to get the best of what is there available. And sometimes these accidents are fantastic. You'll find something which you didn't plan, and that will give you a completely different perspective, different style, and so you use everything. I think a director kind of borrows everything without any qualms. You use every bit of it to try to tell the story a little better. And your right hand is your DOP.
And you're unabashed about your 3 a.m. call sheets, artists waking up at 2, getting ready for 3 hours, 5 o'clock in the morning for a shot, 4 o'clock in the morning for a shot. You don't give a damn if people are complaining. I'm sure your production takes care of that, right?
No. Is anybody complaining? No one complains. I think, to be honest, I think most actors are happy to do work, good work, whatever time it is, as long as you call them and you shoot. If I call them at 5 o'clock and keep them waiting and not do anything, next time they will not come. But as long as I'm able to convince them that this is the reason why we're doing, we're just not, it's for the film. It's not only an actor or an actress, but it's the entire team. Only for an actor, they have to get ready much earlier. They have a lot of prep to do. They have to make up and get up and things like that. So it takes an extra effort from them. And I said that you have to be very considerate to your actors. They are the ones who are in front of the screen, in front of the lens. So you have to be considerate. You have to make sure that they have enough time to, to prepare, to look fresh, to be able to give their best. But it can also be at a time which suits the film as such.
Hi sir. This is Prakash from Hyderabad-based film platform called Voltage. So you received a lot of appreciation and a lot of amount of collections for PS1 and PS2. But some feedback few people gave us, if it was made into a high budgeted web series, there would have been more depth to it and people would have enjoyed it even more. So you have plans to do any high budgeted web series based out of a novel or something? Is it possible here, like Hollywood?
That's a general question. Is it possible here, like Hollywood? Maybe, I don't know. But I think for PS, I've always dreamt of it as a big film, not as a television thing where you can pause, stop, go back, attend phone calls, and go back. I think there is a difference when you watch something with a whole lot of audience together. The collective viewing is something very special. And if a classic that has been written and it's been, been such an important novel for so many years, which has been individually read and individually interpreted by each one of them. But if it is made into a film, you bring the lot of them who really love that story into one hall and, across different ages, if they sit and watch it, I think that can never be brought on on an OTT platform.
I think his question more was, since there's some great stuff being made out there and not taking anything away from it, will Mani Ratnam ever make something for television which will say teleplay by Mani Ratnam and not screenplay?
I think this long format storytelling is a completely different art, I think, So I think unless you get into it and I don't think it's a natural for me. I'm still, I'm very happy struggling with 2.5 hours. If you give me 6.5 hours, 7 hours to make, I think I'll just get lost. So it is an art which I've learned.
Sir, hi sir, Santosh from here. Sir, from Madurai, sir. Sir, ரெண்டு பேருக்குமே கொஸ்டின் இருக்கு. என்ன மேட்டர்னா, ரகுமான் சாரோட கம்போசிஷன் பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் ஏற்கனவே நிறைய பேருக்கு தெரிஞ்ச விஷயம் வந்து ஜிஎம் சார் எப்பயுமே ஃபர்ஸ்ட் சாங் வந்து ஓகே பண்ணிடுறாரு. இந்த மேட்டர் வந்து நிறைய பேர் சொல்லியிருக்காங்க. அண்ட் ஆல்சோ பேக்ரவுண்ட் ஸ்கோரை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் சார், அவர் பண்றதை நீங்க ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டேக்லேயே ஓகே பண்ணிடுவீங்களா, இல்லை நீங்க ரெண்டு பேர் உட்கார்றப்போ வந்து எந்த அளவு உட்காந்து நீங்க வேலை வாங்குவீங்க, இல்லை லைக் எப்படி அந்த ப்ராசஸ் சார், பேக்ரவுண்ட் ஸ்கோர் ப்ராசஸ்?
He said, what I do is I pick the first tune that comes.
I was going to remember the first tune.
Sir, that's why, sir. Is it real?
I'm very remembering.
I pick the first tune that comes my way because I like it. And Avadum Nanam is a song that Mani sir, I can't say rejected, but he said it's not for OK Company. I picked that with a lot of heart and a lot of love.
Sir, background score process. Background score வந்து எப்படி எந்த அளவு நீங்க இன்வால்வ் ஆவீங்க சார் உள்ள?
I think Rahman is one composer who collaborates very well with the director, with the storyteller. You can put in your inputs and he will take it his way. So there is it's a collaborative process. It is his, the music is his completely. But the style and the options and to be able to take a lateral view of the scene. He doesn't necessarily do the underline the scene, the moments within the scene, but he can do something which is a layer below, and he's a master at it. So it's really fascinating to sit there when he's scoring your scene. It is a fantastic process. Even if I don't contribute anything, I'm still happy to be sitting there and watching it.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, as a kid who watched my parents collect the Ponniyin Selvan from the magazine, and they were hardbound, the late 70s, early 80s, both of them went and watched the movie. They loved it. So I think.
Thank you.
Sir, and thank you for our generation. We have watched. I watched from Pallavi Anupallavi. I am from Bangalore, Kannadiga, but very good Tamil-speaking parents. I can speak very good Tamil as well. Sir, this is a very layman question, but please answer it. Which is your favorite film of your own? We would like to know. We have watched all the movies and loved it, but please pick one. Don't say that they are like my children. Let us know one film that you like.
Even my own children don't listen to me. And you're never happy with any of your films fully, honestly. you're never honestly happy with anything. You think, it should have been much better, and you strive for it. That's a very honest answer that I can give.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Sagar here. Hello. Can you hear me? Yeah. Sir, I don't think I'm in a position to ask you a question yet. So I just want to thank you for making Dalapati film. That is one film I just love. Thank you so much for making that film. And on the other hand, Gautam sir, you have hits, you have blockbusters, and you have classics, out of which Surya Son of Krishnan is my all-time favorite. Thank you for making that film, sir. Recently, it is re-released in Hyderabad in the youth speaking stage, and it wrenched my heart, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Sir. Sir.
Namaste, sir. This is Yogesh. I'm from Maharashtra. I'm a writer and I do make short films. So I'm a bit nervous actually, standing in front of you and asking questions. So I may make some mistake. Everybody's your fan, but I have a question and I need your advice also for a budding filmmaker. There are a lot of good storytellers, really nice directors, and a lot of people's films get celebrated. People earn a lot on box office. But after 10-15 years, when we revisit those films, we find some lacuna in maybe research, then costumes, art direction, and all of these things, we feel something is amiss. But when I saw P.S. Punyan Selvan, what I found, I'm from Maharashtra, I have traveled to South a lot. I was in Bangalore. So I feel so much connected because of the architecture, costumes, the way people speak, and it doesn't look bombastic. I feel I may have seen the character somewhere, maybe in current generation in different costume, but the struggle of the people, their love, and the conspiracies are like happening here now. I think you said a few minutes back. So it's so relatable. Maybe after 20, 50, or maybe 100 years, people will refer those films as a film study. But what I have seen, what I would like to know, what is the importance for a filmmaker, not only with respect to cinematography or writing or storytelling, how much is the importance in the process of art director, costume people, makeup artists, and research part of any film, especially in the period. So could you please give us some advice and your process with those departments?
Yeah, I think you take a film. It consists of all these elements together. Without them, it is not the same. And without the effort that went into the costume and jewelry in PS, it wouldn't be the same. There's a lot of talented people who work, and I've been lucky to get a lot of them. So I think we just say something is cinematography, but it also the production design is inbuilt into it, the costume is inbuilt into it, the look will not be the same if those two elements are not the same. So it is very essential to get the production design correct is absolutely essential to make things believable, to make things like it is real, and it will also do something which will help you to make the films easier, which will be aware of how the cameras can move and how it should fit, but still look in a realistic fashion. And similarly with costumes, I think it's absolutely essential to get it right. It sets the mood for the scene. It has to look real, but it also has to tell a story beyond it. Each one of that adds to your storytelling. It is not just a color or a design that's chosen. It is chosen for a particular scene, for a particular character, so that it adds value to it. And it doesn't stand individually. It stands in relation with all the other characters who are there in the same frame. So the entire color palette has to be in a fashion which is, says the same story, not conflicting stories.
Hello, Manisha. Hello, here. Yes, yes. Hello, I am Samindra Deshpande. I am from Maharashtra. I am a filmmaking student. I wanted to ask you, as a filmmaker, you have a
very amazing portrayal of love. You have shown love in amazing films like Alaiva Youth and Okay Kanmani, which have resonated with a lot of generations. So my question to you is, how do you find variety in love? Because romance has been a monotonous genre in films. So how have you been able to explore love as a feeling, as an emotion in your films?
He does it better. True.
Sir, I take it from my own experience, so you too?
I wish I had as experienced a person as you are.
We've answered the question.
Sir,
yeah.
I'm Deepan from Surana College. I'm a media student. So, sir, my question is for Mani Ratnam, sir. Sir, actually you are one of the senior person in the film industry, and you would have met many youngsters and many actors in your life. So, what is the different? How do you differentiate between the industry when you first came to the industry and to the present industry? And another question to the Gautam sir, if you would have directed the Ponniyin Selvan, and if you are giving a role to Mani Ratnam sir, what would be it and why?
Clapper boy.
That's blasphemy if you ask me, so that's my answer. So you have to answer the first question.
I forgot the first question. I'm thinking of the clap.
Same here, I forgot the question too.
The first question?
Yeah. In a nutshell, please.
So first question is from Mani Ratnam sir, and
He's forgotten.
only question for both of them. Sir, actually Mani Ratnam sir is one of the famous and.
He asked you what the difference is between starting off then and now.
Yes.
I think a world of difference. I just think it's. I mean, the technology has changed so much. It's unbelievable. I never dreamt that we could reach this stage. I think just to take a simple example of only the sound in a film, when I started filmmaking, you would have not seen that. I mean, there's no time given for you to do all the sound effects. Nothing. I mean, the background score will happen that day, and that night we have to mix the film, and it is done on film, directly mixed on film, which means you have 2 takes. One negative on this side and that side. That's all you're allowed. And for the whole reel, for 10 minutes you have to do, and all effects are given live on the studio like that. And you sitting with a sound recordist who's tired after a whole day of re-recording, who's sleepy and who's ready to just okay it. And you are there watching, and the footstep is wrong, the car sound is wrong, and you have to manage within that. And from there, to today, the change is just unbelievable. I mean, this is every aspect has been like that. It's completely, it's become very, very director friendly. It is filmmaker friendly. It's eased out so much. I mean, the kind of things that we do in editing today, to be able to see it in different options, we could never do it before. So it's a huge, huge change.
Yes, sir. Sir, I will answer second question, sir. Sir.
I did. Yeah. Yes.
Hi, sir.
Yes, you. Yeah, you can go ahead. Yeah.
Hello, Mani, sir. This is Vinayak from Hyderabad. Looking at the diverse range of genres that you have touched, I don't think any other filmmaker in India has done so. So, do you essentially do all your scripts yourself, or are you open to scripts or stories written by others? That's my first question. Second question, I have one. How do I reach you?
Yeah, it's a film that I made called Ponniyin Selvan. It's written by one Mr. Kalki, so I've taken the story from him. So if you find stories which are, which you can relate to and which are very well edged out, then it makes my job easier. Otherwise, you have to do the hard work of writing your own stories and being able to develop it to a large extent. I work quite a bit with, collaborate with a few of the very big writers in Tamil, and it's always been a pleasure to have another mind, another way of thinking involved in it.
Yeah, but as you rightly put it, you always worked on works of big writers. But if somebody who feels it's worth approaching you, because I feel that's something only you can do that. So how do we approach you? That's the question.
Yeah, I think we're open. My office is in Chennai. It's called Madras Talkies, so it's that's where you can approach. Thank you.
Thanks for being in the right place at the right time.
Hi sir, good evening.
Yeah.
Sukumar here.
Okay.
Thank you so much, GVM sir, for representing us on behalf of all of us. And Mani sir, being a common audience, I'm having this question. So we can have a repeat value for many movies, especially all of your movies. We are seeing it at least more than twice. We used to connect the movie every single time. But a few of the movies, we are watching it for the one time, it is good. But for the repeat values, what would be our advice to all the aspiring directors to make it more lively and connecting for the decades?
You see only 2 times.
Not really, sir. So, no, I can handle it is more than 5-10 times.
That's better. No, I mean, there's nothing.
Good evening, sir.
1 second, sir, just answering them. 1 second.
There's no rule of what will make a film watchable several times. So I see, if as a viewer, if I see something, like the Piazza, for example, after 50 years or 60 years, the film just is fresh. So there are some films which stand time very well. I think that is the real sign of a good film, So that is what we all strive for. We won't succeed every time, but you strive for something which is relevant even after so many decades. That's what you look for. That's your target.
Sir, good evening, sir. My name is Vijay. So I'd like to ask Mani, sir. So Gautam sir started acting in movies. So what would be the character you would like to give Gautam sir in your movie if you would like to cast him?
I told you, I don't know whether I can afford it.
At the risk of a big fight, I tell you, please sit down.
Okay, sir. So I would like to ask.
Do not embarrass me.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for portraying women characters very well in your movies. I like that so much. Thank you so much. And have a good evening.
You've raised your hand a couple of times. Do you want to ask a question? Yeah.
Sir, yes, sir.
Yeah, the lady there.
Sir, I am Tamlashi Subramanian, coming from Coimbatore. Sir, இப்போ வந்து ஒரு மூவி ஷூட் இருக்கு, ஒரு சீக்வன்ஸ் வந்து இந்த டைம்ல ஷூட் பண்ணணும்னு வச்சிருப்பீங்க. ஸோ அவங்க ஏதாவது டெக்னிக்கல் இஷ்யூ ஆர் ஏதாவது ஏற்பட்ட அந்த சீன் எடுக்க முடியாம இருந்தால் ஒரு டேரக்டருக்கு பயங்கரமா ஒரு ப்ரெஷர்ஸ் அண்ட் டென்ஷன் நிறையா வரும். ஸோ அந்த சுச்சுவேஷன் எப்படி ஹேண்டில் பண்ணுவீங்க? இது ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கொஸ்டின். செகண்ட் கொஸ்டின் என்னன்னா, நீங்கள் ஏதாவது பிளான் பண்ணி அந்த சீக்வன்ஸ் வேற மாதிரி எடுத்திருந்தீங்கன்னா அது எடிட் ரூம்ல போய் பார்க்கக்குள்ள உங்களுக்கு சாட்டிஸ்ஃபேக்ஷனாக இருக்குமா?
ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கொஸ்டின் நினைச்சது எடுக்க முடியலன்னா அசிஸ்டன்ட் டைரக்டர் நல்லா திட்டலாம். அதான் ஈஸியஸ்ட் வே. அப்புறம் காம் டவுன் ஆகிடும். அதுக்கப்புறம் வேற வழி பார்த்து ஆகிடும். ரெண்டாவது எடிட்டிங் ரூம்ல சில சமயம் நம்ம எடுத்ததை விட பெட்டரா தோணும், சில சமயம் நம்ம எடுத்தது போராதுன்னு தோணும். பட் அதுல எடிட்டிங் இட் இஸ் almost an extension of writing. Writing is there, and then you shoot, and then you rewrite it on the editing table. So what you do there is trying to elevate it, trying to polish it more and more, so that there is, a kind of harmony in the entire thing. So it's a very fascinating process, editing.
Hello, sir. I also have 2 questions, sir. My first question is, how are you, sir?
Is
Is everything okay?
Or what does it look like?
So my second question is, can I ask this question in Telugu, if you don't mind, please?
Yeah, I have somebody who will translate it.
Yeah. So basically, నేను కూడా ఒక aspiring filmmaker, sir, writer and director. It might be in future. So recently నేను love stories రాయడం start చేశాను. So for that I went both of your filmographies, where there are two films and there are two scenes which literally stuck in my mind. The first scene is when Arvind Swami's entry in Bombay movie, where there is nothing much bigger in it, but just that scene sets the whole movie. Where he is coming with some servant, he is talking with his family person something, and you will establish Manisha Koirala also there. That scene is just a very common scene. He is coming, she is coming, that's it. But whenever we see that scene, we feel that we are seeing Manisha Koirala. And in Emaya Chesar, when Naga Chaitanya is speaking to Samantha in a colleague regarding that 25 years age, you are bigger than me. In that scene, I felt like I am talking with Samantha. Or else I used to blush whenever that conversations come on. So how you guys confirm the dialogues, or you guys write those conversations where audience feel blushing while watching on screen?
I love your imagination, man.
Thank you.
We make films, people like you, where you transport yourself. Keep it going, that's all I say.
Sir,
we have time for one more question.
Myself, Arthur from Kerala. So, first of all, thank you for casting Dulkar to OK Kanmani and Priti for Ravan. So, my question is, how has making Ponniyin Selvan impacted your own understanding of history, storytelling, and filmmaking?
I think all stories are difficult to tell, and historic just means that, you know, to get the world more believable, to transport, to take you to a different world is an effort that needs to be done with a lot of care and a lot of contribution from everybody. So it is, you know, completely a different kettle of fish that right from the way, like I was saying, like the way they speak, the language with which they speak to what they wear and how their body languages and how to create that world is a lot of effort, but it's been done by several people several times, you know, and they've done Master this, here's Shekhar Kapoor with Elizabeth, and, you know, I mean, what more? I mean, those are champions there, so I think they've all set the standard very high, so we just try to follow.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I know that there are restrictions, limitations when making a literary piece which is very much masterpiece and very well read by all the audience into a movie. But how much it is far, I mean, how the limitations get far when it is made into a commercial movie, especially like when Arjivitham, The God Life, which was a bestseller in Malayalam, I mean, it made into God Life, the movie. There was a particular scene which the character has sex, having sex with a god to satisfy his sexual desire, but it was cut down. It was not short. I don't know it was short or, but it was not there in the movie because it was a very important scene and it will convey what kind of the feelings that the character goes through when we were reading the book, and also what happens when this kind of a masterpiece of a like a literary masterpiece made into a commercial movie. What are the restrictions and how far it goes? Because I mean, in Ponniyin Selvan itself, I mean, we see Aditya Karikalan, who is played by Vikram and Karthi and every other actors who are tremendous in their work. I mean, I don't have any doubt in it, but they are very fair in their skin and can't. I mean, I'm not someone who is supportive of this old kind of. I mean, like the so-called political currents to be kind of fair and black and all, not all these things, but these people are real characters. And Aditya Karikalan, who is a Tamilan, I mean, he is the kind of he is a Chola, and it is the identity of the Tamils is black. So, and also there is Parthivan in that movie who played the Karikalan in Ayirathil Oruvan, but he was not the leading character. I mean, how far does this goes? I mean, when you are making a literary masterpiece in your commercial movie, how far this restriction goes? I know there are a huge budget and it falls upon the producer that you itself. So I mean, yeah, I guess that's the problem. But I mean, how far would you go to make this happen? And also, I mean, if you could, I mean, the Ratnam is still available in Malayalam. I hope it comes into your mind. Why empty was your mind?
You asked 4 questions, you answered all the 4 questions.
I sorry.
We
So this is last question, sir. I'm sorry. Okay. So this is regarding the DOP. I'm the biggest fan of you both, but more than this, I'm more excited. So Ravi sir, who's standing from the so long. So thank you, sir. Thank you for being here. I'm the biggest fan of you. So
Hi, Ravi.
and the question is, so you create a scene, right? You write a scene, and when it comes to the screen, like, do you involve in the the camera angle, all those things that you okay, or you left it to the person, like you give all the freedom to him?
Ravi, you want to answer? No, I think without your DOP next to you, without him, the film is not going to look the same. So there is an understanding and trust that has to be there. He has to trust me and I have to trust him. And that is how we make. And we are not looking at just shot. We are looking at making a scene work. We are trying to make sure that the whole story in that scene is told. I think what is very nice about somebody like Ravi is that he is not interested only in his cinematography. He is interested in the story. He is one of the first person who reads the entire script. So it's a huge advantage to have somebody who is interested in the entire thing and not just one part.
Thank you, sir.
So that's it. We asked you a bit space. I have one final question with which I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. We can't. We've been asked to leave. No, we don't have time for that. Very sorry. Yeah. So we'll just wind up with this, sir. I have one question, which is also a thought, and I'm borrowing a line from my second favorite film, Dead Poets Society again. In this faithless world, in this world filled with the foolish, there is this music, this song that goes on, and all we're asked to do is contribute a verse. What will your verse be? What will your verse be?
You start with a quote from one and you finish with a quote as another.
That's
You've done a lot of homework. You should have warned me about this. I would have come prepared with something like that.
What will your verse be? So we're only asked to contribute a verse. What will your verse be?
I don't know. That's a verse. Okay.
Sir finishes with I don't know, and I'm so thankful that I could ask him a few questions on your behalf, like you said, and share space with him. Thank you so much for being such a...
Thank you very much. Thank you.
With this, our session comes to an end. Can we please have a big round of applause for the moderator and the legend himself? We'd also like to thank you, audience, for being with us. I know you had a great time, and we definitely want to see you tomorrow. Thank you, and have a great evening.